Hey friends, happy Monday, good Monday morning, Monday motivation to you as we continue on our Is Collecting Bad series here on the channel. And I appreciate all the comments, all the likes, all the views, and just really all the feedback and the interaction. I think it's been a good, healthy discussion, and I hope it's been something positive for you like it has been for me. We've talked about, am I collecting or am I accumulating? We've talked about, is this an addiction? We talked about OCD and completionism and all of that. We talked about the influence of Saturday morning cartoons. There's Rufus. Can you see Rufus? I don't know that you can see him. It's still we got all the eBay stuff around you, so I don't have the wide lens on. We talked about FOMO. Last week we talked about hoarding. Are we hoarding? And this week we're going to talk about priorities. And am I neglecting my priorities? The question I'm going to ask myself as we go through this, and if you want to, you can ask yourself the same. So the number one comment I've got the whole time through this series is, collecting is not bad. The only thing that makes it bad is if you neglect your priorities. If you're neglecting your bills, you're neglecting your family, whatever. As long as you got food in the belly and a roof over the head, collecting's fine. Other people have said maybe some of these things are true, but we gotta have a way to have some fun, right? To let off a little steam. And collecting's better than others. Oh, I agree with all those statements completely. Where I think that the challenge lies is, even if we believe those things and we know that they're true, is that the place we are actually in? That's what I'm going to ask myself as we go through this today. It's only bad, collecting is only bad, or anything, right? Any hobby is only bad if you're neglecting your family, your finances. What does that mean? Well, there is no reference point here. There is no dictionary.com type of thing I can look up for definitions. I can only tell you about the way I was raised when we come to these things. And because I'm talking to me first and foremost, and the way I was raised is what I'm going to help to work through this process. And I imagine this topic won't be as beloved as some of the other topics. It's hard. People don't always want to listen or understand to the harder topics, me included. And so this may not be for everybody. I'm just giving you a forewarning. So the way I was raised when we come to priorities is, I think about it like resources. And we have a finite and limited, the opposite of infinite, a finite, limited amount of resources in anything we do. We never have an unlimited amount of anything. We have a finite amount of resources. For the sake of this conversation, time is a resource. We only have so much time. In a day, in a week, in a month, in our lives. We only have so much time. It's it is the most valuable resource. An easy one, money. Money's a resource. None of us have unlimited money. I don't think Bezos is watching this. None of us have unlimited, even he doesn't have unlimited money. It's probably kind of does, but none of us have unlimited money. Some of us have a lot more than others, but none of us have unlimited. Finally, space. Space is a resource, especially when we're talking about collecting. That's why houses are sold by the square foot, because space is a resource. So that's what we're going to talk about. Time, money, space. We're going to start with money. That's the easiest one to understand. It's the easiest one to talk about, even though it may be a challenge. The way I was raised is, with any resource, you have to budget your resources ahead of time. You don't decide how much money you're going to spend at a thing when you get to the thing. You budget it ahead of time. That's the way I was raised. Budget your resources. Money's the easy one, right? I think most people understand a budget. I started using a budget not until I was like 30. I used to be a teacher and a coach. I would always say, I don't have enough money to budget. You know what? I got to pay my bills and I got $30 left in a month. What am I going to do? How am I going to budget that money? Right? I didn't have a way to really budget. I still think that's incorrect. I think you can always budget based on percentages. But it wasn't until I was 30, I changed careers and, went from making $27,000 a year to more like $40,000 a year. And the opportunity to budget was a little better because there's a little bit more money and I could do some more things, but I wanted to budget accordingly. So with money, the way I was raised is the first 10% of the money I make, I'm going to give away. Now, whether that is through a church, if you're a religious person, whether that's to a charity, somebody less fortunate, whatever. That's the way I was raised. I'm not telling you that's what you need to do. But that's the way I was raised. That's the way we try to parent. That give away the first 10% of what you have, and it'll come back to you in the long run. Being generous is always a good thing. So the first 10% of the money that I make to this day in my budget, the first 10% goes, I give to primarily a church and then some other charitable opportunities throughout the year. But every month I make sure to give to the church. The next 10% I save. And this is the way I was raised. Again, I'm not telling you this is the hard and fast way to do it. I'm talking to me. This is the way I was raised. So the second 10% of all my money that I come in, right, that comes into my paycheck, I save. And then I live on the other 80%. That's the way I budget. Is I make sure the first 10, the second 10 goes away. Then I live on the rest. But what does live on the rest mean, Brian? And have you really been doing that? Have you been living on the rest? Are you sure? Because I say to myself, well, I have always put food on the table. We've still got the house. We have cars. Everything's paid. And there's no bill collectors calling. I'm paying my bills. And I have been giving away the first 10%. And I've actually been saving more. I think I saved like 13 or 14% right now. So am I just fine? According to the way most people phrase their comments, yep. Doing good. Doing good. I'm not sure that that's true for me, though. I'm not sure that that's true for me. So let's talk about it. When I say save, there's a couple things you got to save for. A, you got to save for retirement. At least I view it that way. I wish I would have been putting 10% of my paycheck into some sort of retirement, even just a savings account, since I started working when I was 15. I waited until I was 30 to start putting money into retirement. I'd be much further along if I had that 15 years. Even when it was a much lower amount of money, it adds up in 15 years. So I save for my retirement. I put that money in investments, and that's money I can access if I need to. Like if something happens, I can pull it out. It's not the easiest to make liquid, but you can make liquid. But I try to not touch it, and I try to increase that another percentage point every single year, so that I don't want to have to work till I'm 70 years old. I really don't want to have to work till I'm 60 years old. I'd like to have retirement, and I don't want to just be relying on Social Security because I'm not sure it's still going to be there for me. So that's that. But you also need to save for rainy day fund. And I don't think I've done a great job of that. Because in recent things where it's like, oh, the hot water heater messes up, we got to get it fixed. I'm either going, okay, do I need to take some of this money out of what I plan to put in my retirement savings? Or do I need to shift money around the budget to pay for this? That's a mistake. That means I haven't done something right in my budget. I should have had that money sitting there in the event of a rainy day, right? I haven't done a good job of that. Do I have enough liquid savings that if someone loses their job, we could survive for 3 months? That's what they tell you, right? Financial planners will tell you you should have enough money in your savings account, not in investments, in a liquid savings account that if you lose your job tomorrow, you can go 3 months without needing a penny to come in and you won't miss a bill. Do I have that right now? Absolutely not. Could I get it out of my retirement? Yeah. Out of my investments? Yes. But is it just sitting there liquid? No, it would take a couple days to get it out. It's not liquid. It's not true liquid money. And that's not good. I should have it sitting there. Why don't I? When I've got 6,000 NECA Ninja Turtles? Probably because I got 6,000 NECA Ninja Turtles. So, is my rainy day fund good? Do I have liquid savings that if I lost my job, I'd be okay for a period of time? What is true discretionary money? Right? That's a question I ask myself in the budget. Say, I've paid all my bills, and I got $300 left over. I can spend it on action figures. Well, let's define paying my bills, Brian. I've got credit cards that have credit card debt on them. They're carrying interest. Right now, interest sucks. And if you're in America and keeps getting higher, am I paying those off quickly? Or am I just making a minimum payment so that I paid the bill? If I'm just making a minimum payment, I didn't have discretionary money because I'm paying way more in interest than I need to be. Me. And that is a position I found myself in the last year. Because, you have a family, and you got a fiance and a daughter, and everything is 3 times the cost that it once was with going to conventions and all this stuff. And then everything gets more expensive. So our collection is probably 350% more than what it was 2 years ago when I was by myself because of inflation and then buying for 3 instead of buying for 1. So it catches up. And I am not making 350% more money than I was making 2 years ago. And so it adds up. So is it truly discretionary that I buy this action figure at Target, or I buy 10 of these action figures at Target, but I only make the minimum payment on my credit card? Now, Brian, I don't think I'm doing a good job if I'm doing that. I don't think I'm doing a good job if I'm doing that. So you have to really examine your money and how you're using your money. This topic sucks because none of us like to think about it. But that's a question I've had to ask myself. I'm paying my bills, no problem. Well, what if inflation goes 11, 12%? You still going to be okay? What if your property tax doubles? What if gas doubles? What if eggs triple? Do you still have that discretionary money? I haven't had a good what if fund. Haven't had a good rainy day fund. I have not done good. Even though I've viewed it all as discretionary. So it's hard. That's a hard topic, right? But we need to have a fun budget. We need to have stress release. We need to have something positive to look forward to. Completely agree. 100% agree. You can't only work and sleep and work. I agree with that completely. Why do any of us work? We go to work so that we can pay for the things we do when we're not at work. Period. Straightforward. I have said that for many years. We go to work to fund what we do when we're not at work. You may love your job. You may be passionate about your job. You may make a difference in your job. But if they stop paying you today, I bet you won't be there tomorrow. Very few of us will. We'll first figure out where the paycheck went. It's called work. It's not called play. But we do need to have a fun budget. We need to have stress release, right? So what I have tried to do better in the last 6 months, I'm just talking to me. If I buy a toy, or if Big Bad Toy Store tells me an order is about to fulfill, if I don't have the cash, the actual cash, ready and not allocated to be spent somewhere else, I'm not gonna get it. I am not gonna pay for it on a credit card that I can't immediately pay off, and I run the risk of interest hitting it. Not gonna do it. Just not gonna do it. I have to have the cash ready and everything else paid for that I need to pay for, and a lot more than minimum payments paid for on credit cards and so forth and so on, or I'm gonna say no. You say, Dub, I don't believe you. I've got all these PCS turtles, all 4 turtles, Shredder, Rocksteady, Bebop, the huge quarter scale statues. I pre-ordered the deluxe edition Krang from Sideshow. I put $95 down as a deposit. It came in. It said $950 due plus $400 shipping, $1,350. It was the week before Christmas. I had paid $95 of the $1,350. I didn't have that cash right then and there ready because it was Christmas. We'd just been to New York City. I canceled it. I said, no, don't send it. I lost $95. But I wasn't going to put that $1,300 on a credit card and then hope I make the money back in a couple weeks and I don't get interest. I wasn't going to do it. And I don't have it. And that makes that collection incomplete. And if I never get it, will that suck? It'll kind of suck. But was it the right choice? Yeah, because I have to set better collection rules. And it wasn't in the budget. That thing arrived 6 months early. 6 months from now, I would have had the money because I would have started to save each month for it. But when things take 3 years to come in on a pre-order, you're not saving $2 a year, even though you should maybe. So, we have to have that stress release budget. I set a certain number. That's me now. $50. This is what I used to do. $50 a month, action figures. $100 a month. $100 a month was kind of a normal number for me. I'm going to set aside $100 a month for action figures. It's $1,200 a year. That is not an insignificant amount of money. That is not. $1,200 a year is a lot of money on action figures. $1,200, you buy season tickets to sporting events. You could go to mini concerts. There's a lot of things you could do with that. You could have a season ticket to, I don't know about Disney World anymore, but SeaWorld you definitely can, Six Flags. So there's a lot of things you can do with that kind of money for discretionary. $1,200 a year, $100 a month on action figures. What I would do was I would blow past it every single month. Well, I found the new wave of Marvel Legends. Oh, there's 2 new Hot Toys I want. Whatever. And so, even though I'd only budgeted $100, I'd just go rob from somewhere else. in my budget line items. I use a software called You Need a Budget. Highly recommended. Use it for about 10 years. Very good. You Need a Budget. I'd say, oh, well, I mean, I need $300 in the action figure budget this month because I bought a hot toy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take $200 away from eating out with the family budget. And we'll just eat ramen, or we'll just eat hot dogs or whatever. That's stupid. I am not prioritizing what I need to prioritize by doing that. Sure, I paid the bills. Sure, the family had food. But I took away nicer opportunities for me to break my budget and get a more expensive action figure. But I would do that every month, month after month after month after month for several years. And it was when I really stopped and looked at, and it was when Sideshow would start letting you do monthly payment plans. And I went, wait a second. I owe Sideshow Collectibles how much every month for $600, $300? What am I doing? I could buy a Tesla. I could rent an apartment. In some cases, I could buy a house. What am I doing? Putting this much money toward toys every month. And it made me sick to my stomach when I started to truly add up how much I was spending on toys every month. So now I've tried to go back. $50. That's my budget. And I don't want to spend it in months that I don't need to, and I'll let it carry over. And then there's $100 in that pot. Then there's $200 in that pot, or whatever. $50 can get me 2 G.I. Joe figures. It can get me 1 Super 7 figure. If they release a wave of 4 Ninja Turtles every 3 months, I'll have enough money to pay for that way. Is $50 enough? Probably not. I supplement it with what I sell. But should it be $500? So that's what I say to myself, and that's what I'd ask you to say. When you say, I'm paying my bills, I'm doing everything I need to do, this is fine, are you sure that's what you're doing? Am I sure that's what I'm doing? And I agree, you got to have a discretionary, fun money thing. But you got to make sure it's right. It's budgeted. I know this topic sucks. Sucks for me to talk about. Sucks for me to do. Because you guys have seen me for a long time. I just buy whatever I want. I've worked hard to have a decent paycheck. I'm going to buy what I want. And then when something like hot water heater goes out and it's $2,500 and you go, well, I don't have $2,500 like immediately on hand. Why don't I? Well, I bought 5 Sky Strikers. Why'd I do that? Huh. And I paid for those 2 years ago. It's a mess. So we talk about resources. Let's talk about other things. Our space and our time. We'll talk about these together. These are our resources. And this is the family side. So you say, I'm not neglecting the pocketbook. Okay. And maybe you're great. Maybe you really stick to your budget. You give yourself $80 a month and you never go over that. Awesome. Great. Teach us how to do it. But then you go, well, I'm not neglecting my family. So let's talk about space and time resources. In my house, the room we're sitting in right now, this is the second largest room in the house. It's full of toys. It's full of toys. My office, I work from home, and I have worked from home for about 5 years. I work from home. My office, my desk, I work from home, is in the corner of the living room, shoved all the way in the corner. I spend 8+ hours at that desk all day, 5 days a week. And it's got a tiny footprint. It may have 50 square feet. This room that has like 600 square feet is filled with toys, and I may come in here once a week. Maybe. Sure, I come in here if I've got to put a figure in here, open something. But like sit here and enjoy it and do stuff with it, maybe not even once a week. Yet it has the second most space in the house. I am taking the resources that I have available to me, the limited finite resource of space, and I am devoting way too much to collecting. Way too much. Is that good? Is that bad? That's a challenge. Now, one of the things that I hope is a goal, or I have a goal after we get rid of all this stuff and sell everything and get this room back in order, is we spend more time in here as a family. There's a TV in here. Maybe we watch TV. Maybe we play chess or something up here. Maybe we do things up here that are make better use of this space. But right now, we don't really use it. It just is. It's like a museum that nobody ever buys a ticket for. But my office that I have to use all the time, I get a tiny bit of space. Is that the right use of my resources? Time. When I'm out hunting, which I don't do anymore, and we've talked about this, why I don't do it anymore, is that truly time that I'm not taking away from my family? If I'm going to a convention, if I'm going hunting, if I'm going to the comic book store, whatever. Everybody needs guy time, girl time, time by themselves. That's all part of healthy relationships, right? But last year, when I was spending 10 to 15 hours a week going to Targets and Walmarts to make videos, most of that time, Natalie and Kyle were not at work, not at school. They were available. They were by themselves without me. No, they weren't complaining. They weren't saying, oh, I wish you'd be here and not at Target. They understood I was making a video and they were fine with it. But that doesn't mean I wasn't neglecting my priorities, right? There wasn't a balance. I got to make a video. I got to go. I'll see you in 4 hours. Well, what are you going to do? I'm going to go to a bunch of Targets. Well, I don't really want to do that. Can we just like hang out here, watch a movie? Can we go do something as a family? That's why many years ago you saw that my main episode, Life of the Dubs now, or Dub Life and now Life of the Dubs, it's just going to be whatever I was doing, toys or not, because I was devoting way too much time to doing the hobby and not enough time to real life. So yes, you have to have a discretionary budget. You have to have a way to blow off some steam. All of this is better than substance abuses. And you could say, oh, guys spend their money on fishing or golf or at the bar or on drugs or cigarettes or fill in the blank things, right? But all of it can become too much. All of it can take control of your finances, can take control of your space, can take control of your time. All of it. Everything can. So we have to ask ourselves, what are my priorities? And am I upholding those? It's really easy to justify whatever you want to justify in your head. But you have to take a critical eye to it. So I have asked myself, and the last 6 months, not buying a toy if I don't have a way to pay for it right away. I'm not spending money I don't have today. I'm not going to over budget. I'm not going to blow the budget. That's what I meant to say. I'm not going to do it. I canceled that crane, and I wanted it, but I didn't have the money for it at the time. I hope maybe I'll get a bonus. Maybe something will happen in a few months and it'll still be there and I'll get it. But if I don't, that's the rule I've got to live by. Versus completionism rules. I can't let those rules control me. I'm not going hunting anymore. I'm spending a lot more time with the girls. A lot more time with my dog. At home with my family. Not going out and about. We still every once in a while go into a Target. We did very recently. We still go to the mall together. We still do those things, but we do them together. Or I do those things when everybody else has something else going on and I'm by myself. Space, not there yet. We're working hard. We got out of the storage unit. The garage is getting situated. I got to get this stuff sold. Click the eBay link below if you want to buy stuff. And then we'll figure out how to make this a better use of a room. But we only have a finite amount of resources. We only have a finite amount of time, of money, and space. It's very easy to say, I'm doing fine. I'm not neglecting anything. It's not easy to really think about it and say, am I neglecting something? For me, I was. I was neglecting my family. I was neglecting my finances. I'm still neglecting my space. I want to do better about that. I know that's a big thing for me. So, not the most fun topic, and I know probably some folks won't love talking about this in the comments or say I'm being too harsh. And again, I'm not telling you you've got to give money to the church or charity. I'm just saying make a budget for all these resources and try to stick to it. That's what I got to try to do. Next week, we are going to get into what do the other people in your life truly think about it? And should you care? Then, 2 weeks from now, what is my end point in collecting? How can I be done collecting? Is there one? And then, provided that no other people have suggestions for videos they'd like to see me cover that I decide to do, we're going to wrap this series up, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That'd be the 10th episode, the wrap up, where we kind of look back on all the things we've talked about and go forward. Then when we finish the series, we're at least going to do a single episode, if not a couple, on why collecting's good, since we spent so much time on why collecting's bad. And again, my point here is not to make you feel bad, not to make me feel bad. It's more just to, let's get a grip on things. Because this hobby has spun way bigger than I think any of us imagined it would be when we bought our very first action figure as an adult. And let's make sure that we have control of it. It doesn't have control of us. That's the big focus. And I'm talking to myself first and foremost. So thanks for joining. I wish you a great middle of the month. Hopefully your February is going good. We look forward to spring and everything that it holds coming up soon. So until then, I will talk to you next week.